Well, Andrew Norris is a retired US Coast Guard captain. Welcome to the programme, Andrew. Thanks for joining us. So we've heard these sounds have been detected, rather. How promising a sign is that, do you think?
Well, good morning, first of all. Thank you for inviting me to the show. It is an interesting development. As the U.S. Coast Guard said, it gives a glimmer of hope. So the sounds were, it's not been confirmed that it was actually banging. It's been described by the Coast Guard in a press conference as underwater noises. Those noises are being analyzed to determine what their cause or origin may be. There's lots of noises from living and non-living sources in the ocean, so whether it's it can be related or somehow tied to this missing submersible and the people aboard is unclear at this point.
And this has been a really challenging search, hasn't it? Why has it been so difficult?
It's extraordinarily difficult in so many ways. If the vessel was on the surface, then Coast Guards around the world are trained and equipped to carry out searches. They practice, they integrate their activities. They have sophisticated aids to help determine drift and where things on the surface may be. But of course, in this case, we don't know whether it's on the surface or not. In many ways, that would be the best case, but it may be at the bottom of the sea. So there's a third dimension, a third component to the search in this case, which is to, first of all, try to find something, a small object on the sea floor, and a very deep sea floor at that, for that matter, and then, if you find it, to do something about it. So there's really two very complex components to the case, the finding and then the response if and when you do find it, that are raised by the fact that it may be on the seafloor.
Well, as you say, if they do find it, then comes another challenge. How difficult would a possible rescue be?
Extraordinarily difficult. And of course, the time window is fast pressing. We are now somewhat under 24 hours remaining. But in terms of a rescue, there is no possibility of rescuing the people by removing them from the submersible if it's on the seafloor. There's no capability to access the sub and remove the people. The only way to effect a rescue would be to somehow bring it to the surface or allow it to reach the surface on its own. That is the only hope. So within the time period that's remaining, it has to be found, and then some way will have to be devised, if it's on the seafloor, some way will have to be devised to get it to the surface where the crew can be accessed and saved from the interior of this submersible.
And what about the equipment needed for all this? How easy is that to get hold of at short notice?
Extraordinarily difficult. I hate to be too grim, but what you would really need is equipment that can find things on the seabed, and there is sophisticated equipment, I understand, that is already on scene and then that's already on its way. So in terms of locating the people, it requires specialized equipment that can operate at those types of depths, and then that equipment has to be able to do something. So some of these remote operated vehicles, these effectively robots that can be sent down to depths like that, have what are called manipulator arms that can do a variety of tasks. And so if, for example, the vessel's caught up in some debris, then ideally you would have a ROV on scene that has a manipulator that's capable of doing whatever operation it would be is necessary to remove that debris and free up the submersible. So you need to have the right equipment on scene and to deal with whatever it is that they find if, in fact, it is discovered on the seabed.
And this, of course, isn't the first or the only expedition to view the Titanic. Why do you think it has such enduring appeal? Why do people want to see it?
Well, it's an age-old fascination, isn't it? It's a sort of tale of hubris, and it's a tale of human tragedy. And I was struck today by the sort of the commonality between this situation and the Titanic, where the U.S. Coast Guard released the search images of the search patterns that are being conducted. The search patterns are based upon the calculated drift and the wind and other environmental considerations. So if it was on the surface, how would it be affected and where would it go? And that reminded me of the lifeboats from the Titanic and where they were found in relation to the vessel because of such things as currents and waves and wind.
Andrew, good to talk to you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts today. That's Andrew Norris, retired US Coast Guard captain.
Thank you.